certainly seems like it was a resounding success. You had over 1,000 delegates there, representing over 140, not just civil society organizations, but even people that are part of trade union movements. So your reflections on the turnout of the summit, firstly.
Well, 147 civil society formations, all of them from the working class communities, a combination of trade unions, rural women, rural organizations, people battling against land dispossessions, people battling for land, people facing evictions in the farm workers themselves, people battling against housing shortages across the country, and the people battling against environmental destruction of our country, workers in the informal sector, and workers who are battling against abuse in society, the people who are agitating for the total shutdown on the 1st of August to highlight the brutality that is seemingly directed at women and children in our country. All of them sitting under one roof in an unprecedented fashion, historic in every sense of the word, to say that but 25 years of democracy is leaving us behind. We're facing a worsening crisis in every aspect of our lives. Land redistribution have not happened. Land reform, food sovereignty, food security have not happened. Our people are facing crisis of housing shortages. Our education system is not working for the most marginalized. Our healthcare facilities are facing a serious distress. We've seen Esidimeni, we've seen what have been highlighted in Gauteng, in the Eastern Cape, Free State, and KwaZulu-Natal. And our people are facing a dysfunctional education system, left, right, and center. But worst of all, unemployment has gone to break new records. Inequalities, poverty, corruption. So we're quite excited that people are beginning to engage with that together to say, we've seen so many battles. We're the headquarters of demonstrations in South Africa, but we're making no impact. The more we demonstrate, the more the crisis is worsening in all respect. And that's why we felt that perhaps we need to be learning one thing. Fighting in a fragmented fashion in silos will not make the impact, but pulling everything together and to begin to coordinate and speak in one voice will have an impact.
And there's certainly no question about the legitimacy of the issues that I think those who are part of the conference have raised, and there are numerous resolutions that you guys have taken on. One of those includes going to communities and holding meetings. Tell us more about what these meetings will look like.
Well, 147 organizations have met. We will meet with their leaders in a week, all 147 of them. One of the decisions is to cascade that into every community, coordinated at the provincial level in what we call the people's assemblies, so that the coordination can happen not in the boardrooms, the big conferences at the national level. Coordination can happen in Cape Town between the Unite or behind the people who are battling around the housing shortages, including this systematic removing of the poor from the city centers through imposing unbelievably high rents and all manner of other restrictions. There was even a thought that we must pay 400 rands a day for parking in Cape Town. All of those people facing evictions, the backyarders, the informal settlements without infrastructure, they have to pull everything together to say in Cape Town, I'm making an example, because they must do the same thing in each and every city. In this city, here are the battles that we are fighting. How do we make sure that the trade unions stop being just trade unionists who think that workers sleep and die in the factories and that they do not emerge from their communities? The trade unionists shop towards these activists who are battling the system of a collapsing neoliberalism to which the poorest of the poor are paying such a heavy price, and they will coordinate it there, and we're quite excited by that. That's what we call the working class movement.
And it certainly gives you a presence in almost every community of the organizations that are represented. Now, before this Working Class Summit was held, one of the concerns that had been raised about it was the extent to which what is happening now will ultimately fall along some kind of political plan going into next year's elections. And we were told by one of the conveners that in fact would be something that would be open to the summit for discussion. So what was the discussion around whether or not this formation then should also look at possibly being part of the elections next year?
No, there was no decision on that issue. Very categorically, it was debated in the context of building the working class power in the workplace, in our communities, in our society as a whole. And there were strong views that were presented that we must contest elections as the poor so that we don't have to repeat the same mistake of believing that the people will make a change 25 years when the record speaks for itself. But the conclusion was that that discussion must continue. There is no decision that we're going to be contesting elections next year. There is a decision that we must continue to engage with the issue of the working class and the power in the context of tilting the balance of forces in favor of the progressive forces and in favor of the poor in the country.
All right, that's what we leave for tonight. Thanks for coming into studio, giving us a roundup of how that particular summit took place, and of course, many resolutions that they've taken to adopt. And you'll certainly be hearing more from them as we edge closer to the 1st of August for the total shutdown campaign that's going to be held on the 1st of August. And this particular summit certainly giving its full support to that particular campaign. South African Federation of Trade Unions General Secretary Zwelinzima Vavi.